Have you ever felt anxious before a difficult conversation? Are you worried about what might happen or what might be said that could hurt? I used to feel the same. Whenever a challenging discussion loomed, I avoided it, hoping the problem would magically disappear. But avoidance doesn't solve problems, it often makes them worse. I remember once avoiding a close friend over a small misunderstanding. I was too ashamed to bring it up, thinking it would fade with time. Instead, it created a rift that lasted years. That experience taught me something crucial. Difficult conversations, while uncomfortable, hold the power to transform relationships, influence our careers, and even affect our happiness. So how do we handle these moments without letting fear or emotions get the best of us? This is where Stoic philosophy becomes a guiding light. With its timeless principles of self-control, emotional discipline, and reasoned response, Stoicism equips us to navigate tough conversations with wisdom and grace. In this video, I'll share 7 Stoic principles that will help you handle tough conversations like a pro. These tools won't just help you speak. They'll help you listen, connect, and grow. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story below, and if you found a way to handle such moments, let others know. Your wisdom might just inspire someone today. 1. Premeditation of evils, the foundation of preparedness. Difficult conversations often feel daunting because we step into them unprepared, bracing for the worst without a clear plan. This is where the Stoic principle of premeditation malorum, the premeditation of evils, becomes essential. It's not about being pessimistic, but about mentally rehearsing what could go wrong, so you are neither surprised nor overwhelmed when it does. This mindset gives you clarity and control, empowering you to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Looking back on my unresolved conflict with a close friend, I realized that preparation could have changed everything. If I had paused to visualize the possible outcomes of our conversation, I would have been ready for both his anger and his forgiveness. Instead, I walked in blind, driven by my own emotions. When he opened up about his disappointment, I ignored him and offered solutions he didn't need. That single failure to empathize widened the gap between us. Had I foreseen that he might not accept my apology immediately, I could have stayed calm instead of letting frustration lead me to shut down. Premeditation would have reminded me of what I could and couldn't control. His reaction was beyond my power, but my sincerity and patience were entirely within my grasp. Without that mental rehearsal, I was ill-equipped to handle the complexity of the situation. The lesson here is clear. Preparation is power. Before entering a challenging conversation, take a moment to visualize the possibilities. What are the best and worst-case scenarios? How will you react if things don't go as planned? By doing this, you strengthen your emotional resilience. You remind yourself that even if the outcome isn't favorable, your composure and effort matter more than the result. Next time you face a similar situation, consider this. If the other person reacts poorly, can you maintain your calm? If they get emotional, can you validate their feelings without losing your footing? Imagine the conversation unfolding and prepare for the highs and lows. When you mentally rehearse potential outcomes, you not only reduce anxiety, but also position yourself as the steady anchor in the storm. This approach isn't about predicting every detail. It's about building your inner fortitude. When you enter the conversation with a prepared mind, you're less likely to be derailed by unexpected turns. Instead, you'll stay focused on what matters: clarity, empathy, and finding a constructive resolution. By practicing premeditation of evils, you take control of your narrative. You move from fear to confidence, from reactivity to intentionality. Remember, it's not about fearing the worst, but about empowering yourself to face it with wisdom and grace. When I think back to that friendship, I understand now that preparation might not have guaranteed a perfect outcome, but it would have given me the strength to try harder, listen better, and respond more thoughtfully. For you, it can mean the difference between a broken connection and a mended bond. Prepare, not to avoid, but to embrace and grow from the challenge ahead. 2. Empathy, building bridges, not walls. Empathy is the bridge that connects people, especially during difficult conversations. Without it, even the best preparation can fall short. To practice empathy is to set aside your ego, Step into another's shoes and see the world through their eyes. It doesn't mean agreeing with everything they say, but understanding their emotions and motivations. This openness creates a space where real communication can happen. Looking back at the story of my failed conversation with my friend, I now understand that my lack of empathy widened the gap. I focused on my own thoughts, completely missing the pain he was expressing. Had I paused to consider his feelings, I might have approached the situation differently, acknowledging his emotions instead of dismissing them. Think about this in your own life. Imagine a scenario where a colleague confronts you about a mistake at work. Instead of immediately explaining why it wasn't your fault, try to understand why they are upset. Are they feeling overwhelmed or undervalued? Acknowledging their perspective doesn't mean taking the blame. It means validating their experience. Or consider a family disagreement. A loved one might lash out during a heated argument. Rather than reacting defensively, ask yourself, what's behind their frustration? Are they feeling unheard or misunderstood? Taking a moment to empathize can diffuse tension and lead to a more constructive dialogue. Empathy is not a weakness, it's a strength. It demonstrates that you value the other person's feelings and are willing to listen. In practical terms, it means being present. Focus on their words and body language. Avoid interrupting or planning your response while they speak. Instead, ask clarifying questions like, "What do you mean by that?" Or "How does that make you feel?" These questions show genuine interest and encourage them to open up. Another key to empathy is separating the person from the problem. Their frustration or anger is not a personal attack. It's often rooted in their struggles or misunderstandings. By recognizing this, you can approach the conversation with patience and compassion rather than defensiveness. Empathy turns conflict into connection. When you make an effort to understand someone else's perspective, you create an environment where solutions are possible. Without empathy, conversations become battles of egos, but with them, they become opportunities for growth and understanding. To apply this in your next difficult conversation, remember these steps. First, take a deep breath and calm your emotions. Second, listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. Third, reflect on what you've heard before, offering your perspective. These small shifts can transform the dynamic of any discussion. Stoic philosophy teaches us that understanding others begins with controlling ourselves. Empathy, when paired with self-control, allows us to rise above immediate emotions and see the bigger picture. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, whenever someone has done wrong by you, immediately consider what notion of good or evil they had that led them astray. Through empathy, we focus not on winning an argument, but on building mutual understanding, which is the ultimate victory. 3. Attentive listening and observation. Understanding beyond words. Listening is often misunderstood as simply hearing words. True listening goes deeper. It's about understanding the emotions, intentions, and unspoken messages behind what's being said. Observation plays a crucial role here, as body language, tone of voice, and expressions often reveal what words alone cannot. Together, attentive listening and keen observation allow you to grasp the full picture of a conversation, setting the stage for meaningful resolution. In the story of my failed conversation, my focus on my thoughts blinded me to the cues my friend was giving me. His words expressed frustration, but his tone and gestures showed hurt. Had I truly listened and observed, I might have recognized the deeper pain he was experiencing and responded with more empathy. Instead, I missed the opportunity to connect. Now, consider a situation where someone expresses anger during a conversation. Often, the anger is not the root issue, but a symptom of something deeper: fear, disappointment, or unmet expectations. If you only listen to their words, you might react defensively. But if you observe their tone and posture, perhaps their voice shakes or their shoulders tense, you'll sense their vulnerability. This understanding can shift your reaction from defensiveness to compassion. Attentive listening requires full presence. This means silencing your inner dialogue, resisting the urge to plan your next response, and focusing entirely on the speaker. Observation complements this by helping you interpret the subtleties of their emotions. For instance, a pause in their speech might indicate hesitation or discomfort, while a sharp tone might reveal frustration. These clues, when noticed, allow you to respond thoughtfully. The Stoics teach us the value of reason and clarity in human interactions. Epictetus reminds us we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Attentive listening is an exercise in self-control, holding back your impulses to speak, react, or judge, and instead prioritizing understanding. When you practice this, you embody the Stoic ideal of wisdom, which involves seeing situations for what they truly are, unclouded by emotion or assumption. If you find yourself in a tense discussion, follow these steps. First, take a deep breath to ground yourself. Second, make eye contact to show you're engaged. Third, reflect their words to them with a phrase like, "It sounds like you're feeling," to confirm your understanding. These small actions demonstrate care and create an environment where the other person feels heard. Listen not just with your ears, but with your mind and heart. Observation deepens this practice, helping you uncover what lies beneath the surface. When you combine the two, you approach conversations with clarity and wisdom. Stoic philosophy reminds us that listening is a virtue that cultivates patience, builds bridges, and aligns with the greater pursuit of inner peace and harmony in our relationships. 4. Control the only thing you can, yourself. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the concept of the dichotomy of control, understanding what is within your control and what is not. In any difficult conversation, this principle serves as your compass. You cannot control the other person's reactions, emotions, or opinions, but you can control your actions, words, and responses. This realization is liberating. It shifts your focus from external chaos to internal mastery, allowing you to approach challenges with calm and clarity. Consider a professional setting where a colleague harshly criticizes your work. Your instinct may be to retaliate, defend yourself, or even shut down emotionally. However, none of these reactions improve the situation. What you can control is how you respond, with measured words and steady composure. By focusing on what you can influence, such as clarifying misunderstandings or addressing the issue constructively, you reclaim your power. Or think about a heated argument at home. When emotions flare, it's easy to be swept away by anger or frustration, but reacting impulsively often worsens the conflict. Instead, practicing self-control allows you to pause, breathe, and respond thoughtfully. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions, it means channeling them constructively to maintain peace and understanding. The Stoics remind us that our inner world is our sanctuary. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When faced with hostility or negativity, recognize that you have a choice. You can either allow external events to dictate your behavior or anchor yourself in rationality and self-discipline. To apply this principle effectively, begin by reframing the situation. When you feel triggered, remind yourself that the other person's words or actions are beyond your control. Instead of reacting emotionally, focus on your breathing and regain composure. A steady mind creates space for a thoughtful response rather than a heated reaction. Next, decide what outcome you want to achieve. Is it mutual understanding? Resolving a disagreement? Protecting your boundaries? By aligning your actions with your goal, you can steer the conversation toward resolution without losing control. For instance, if someone accuses you unfairly, calmly state your perspective without escalating the tension. This approach demonstrates strength and fosters mutual respect. The lesson here is profound. Self-control is the foundation of effective communication. It shields you from being manipulated by others' emotions and keeps your focus on what truly matters. In practicing this, you embody the Stoic virtue of courage, not the absence of fear, but the ability to act rightly despite it. When navigating difficult conversations, remember that your peace lies in mastering yourself, not the situation. The external world may be unpredictable, but your response is always within your power. By embracing this truth, you not only maintain inner tranquility, but also set an example of calmness and resilience that can inspire others to do the same. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: to rise above chaos and remain steadfast in the face of adversity. 5. Use precise language. Words as tools for clarity and resolution. Language is a powerful tool, but when wielded carelessly, it can harm rather than heal. Stoicism teaches us to choose our words with intention, focusing on precision and clarity to foster understanding. In challenging conversations, vague or exaggerated language often inflames tensions. Instead, clear and specific communication can transform conflicts into opportunities for growth. Consider a common scenario in a relationship. During an argument, someone says, "You're always thinking about yourself," or "You never listen to me." These statements are overgeneralizations and rarely true. The listener certainly does not always think about themselves or never listens. Absolutes like always and never feel like personal attacks, escalating defensiveness and deepening conflict. Now imagine the same sentiment expressed differently. "I feel hurt when I don't feel heard," or "I wish you would ask me about this more often." These statements focus on specific behaviors rather than labeling the person, opening the door for constructive dialogue. Similarly, in a workplace setting, vague criticism like "this report is all wrong" leaves the recipient confused and frustrated. They may not know what to fix or how to improve. A more precise alternative might be, "The financial data in Section 2 needs more accuracy, and the recommendations in Section 3 should be clearer." This feedback is actionable, fostering collaboration rather than resentment. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of intentionality in our words. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Let your words be few and well considered." Precision in language reflects a disciplined mind, one that seeks to understand and resolve rather than react and divide. To apply this principle, start by eliminating absolutes like always and never from your vocabulary during conflicts. These words rarely capture the full truth and often cause unnecessary escalation. Instead, focus on specific behaviors and how they make you feel. For example, instead of saying, "You never support me," try, "I felt unsupported when you didn't attend the meeting I mentioned." This approach shifts the conversation from blame to understanding. Another key practice is to pause before speaking. When emotions run high, impulsive words can lead to regret. Taking a moment to gather your thoughts allows you to communicate more thoughtfully. Use simple, clear language that avoids assumptions and focuses on solutions. For instance, instead of saying, "You don't care about this project," try, "I feel like this project isn't a priority for you. How can we align on it?" This phrasing encourages collaboration rather than confrontation. This Stoic principle offers a timeless truth. Precise language is an act of control and respect. It demonstrates that you value the other person and the conversation itself. By being intentional with your words, you create a space where both parties can feel heard and understood. In every interaction, remember that words have weight. Choose them wisely, not to win an argument, but to build a bridge. When your language is precise, your message becomes clear, your intentions are better understood, and your relationships, whether personal or professional, become stronger and more harmonious. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: clarity, respect, and the pursuit of meaningful connection. 6. Reasoned response and emotional control. Strengthen restraint. In moments of intense emotion, reason often takes a back seat. Anger, frustration, and disappointment cloud our judgment, leading to impulsive actions we later regret. Stoicism reminds us that while emotions are natural, they must be guided by reason to avoid harm to ourselves and others. Emotional control is not about suppression, but about mastery, choosing thoughtful responses over reactive outbursts. Consider the example of a parent dealing with a child's mistake. Instead of calmly addressing the problem, they resort to harsh words, insults, or even physical punishment. This approach does not solve the issue. It only vents the parent's anger and damages the child emotionally and mentally. The child may lose trust in their parent, become withdrawn, or develop long-lasting psychological scars. Here, the lack of emotional control turns a teaching moment into a source of pain and resentment. The same applies to everyday conflicts. Imagine a workplace disagreement where someone criticizes your work unfairly. A heated, defensive response might escalate the conflict and strain the relationship. However, a calm, reasoned reply focused on the facts can diffuse the situation and foster mutual understanding. Emotional control allows us to maintain dignity and clarity, even in challenging interactions. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control external events or other people's actions, but we can control how we respond. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This strength lies in pausing before reacting, allowing reason to guide our actions instead of being driven by emotion. To practice this, begin by acknowledging your emotions without letting them dictate your response. For instance, if anger arises, recognize it. "I feel angry right now." This simple acknowledgement creates a mental gap between the emotion and your reaction, giving you time to reflect. Ask yourself, what outcome do I want from this situation? And let this guide your next step. Next, focus on your breathing. Deep, steady breaths calm your nervous system and clear your mind, making it easier to think rationally. Once you've regained composure, choose your words carefully. Use precise, respectful language to address the issue rather than attack the person. For example, instead of saying, "You're so careless," say, "This mistake is important. How can we ensure it doesn't happen again?" This approach keeps the conversation productive and prevents unnecessary escalation. This principle is particularly important in relationships, whether with children, colleagues, or loved ones. Emotional control fosters trust, respect, and better understanding. It also reinforces your own sense of integrity as you act in alignment with your values rather than being swayed by fleeting emotions. The wisdom of Stoicism lies in its focus on what truly matters, maintaining inner peace and building meaningful connections. Emotional mastery is not about being cold or detached. It's about responding with thoughtfulness and compassion. When you choose reason over reaction, you create space for growth, healing, and resolution, turning conflict into an opportunity for harmony. 7. Acceptance and learning. Growth through resolution. After much reflection, I realized that the unresolved conversation with my friend wasn't just a failure, it was a lesson. The pain of losing that connection taught me the value of preparation, empathy, and clear communication. I decided to mend the rift, approaching the conversation with renewed understanding and purpose. I visualized the possible outcomes, considered his perspective, and prepared to listen without judgment. When we finally spoke, I didn't focus on defending myself. I focused on understanding him and expressing my sincere regret. This step was transformative. While it wasn't easy, the conversation brought closure and a renewed bond. By accepting past mistakes, I opened the door to growth and healing. This taught me that even difficult relationships can be repaired with effort and the right mindset. Think about a similar situation in your life. Perhaps a family member has been distant because of a disagreement that was left unresolved. Reaching out might seem daunting, but doing so with openness and humility can pave the way for healing. Or imagine a workplace misunderstanding. Choosing to address it calmly rather than ignoring it could rebuild professional trust and improve collaboration. Acceptance doesn't mean resigning yourself to failure. It means acknowledging what happened and learning from it. The Stoics teach us to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By reflecting on past mistakes, we gain the insight needed to handle future challenges more effectively. If you find yourself in a similar situation, here's how to move forward. First, reflect honestly on what went wrong without self-criticism. Identify what you can learn from the experience. Second, prepare to approach the other person with humility and understanding. Remember, this is about connection, not confrontation. Third, focus on expressing your intentions clearly and listening actively to theirs. Even if the conversation doesn't go as planned, you will have taken a meaningful step toward resolution. The Stoic mindset encourages us to accept outcomes with grace. Not every attempt at reconciliation will be successful, but the effort itself builds character. It strengthens your ability to face uncomfortable situations with courage and wisdom. Over time, these practices cultivate resilience and inner peace. When you approach life with this mindset, every challenge becomes an opportunity. A strained relationship becomes a chance to rebuild trust. A failure becomes a lesson in adaptability. Even when outcomes fall short of your hopes, the process of learning and growing remains within your control. The beauty of acceptance lies in its simplicity. It frees you from the weight of regret and the need for perfection. Instead, you focus on progress, on becoming wiser, calmer, and more prepared for life's inevitable difficulties. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: to meet every moment, no matter how challenging, with a spirit of learning and a heart open to growth. Every difficult conversation holds the potential for growth, understanding, and transformation. By applying the Stoic principles we've discussed, premeditation of evils, empathy, attentive listening, emotional control, precise language, reasoned response, and acceptance, you can turn conflicts into meaningful connections. These aren't just tools for better communication. They are pathways to building resilience, mastering emotions, and finding inner peace. The lessons from Stoicism remind us that the way we handle challenges defines us. When we approach conversations with preparation and clarity, we create opportunities for trust and connection. By practicing empathy, we bridge divides. Through emotional control and precise language, we resolve issues thoughtfully. And when we accept outcomes with grace, we grow stronger and wiser. Start small. Take one principle and apply it to your next conversation. Reflect on the results and refine your approach. These habits don't just improve how you communicate, they transform how you live. Every conversation becomes a chance to practice self-control, embrace wisdom, and strengthen your character. Remember, growth is a daily effort. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Use these principles to take action, and with time, you'll find that handling even the most challenging conversations becomes second nature. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. What challenges have you faced, and how did you handle them? Let's learn from each other.